Hi, I'm Nina Bosky, and welcome to LifeBites, where each and every week we'll get you inspired in the areas of life, business, and media. We'll help you dare, dream, do, and be so you can get out of your head into your soul in order to tune in and take a bite. This week, we're getting you media inspired. Hi, everybody. Welcome to LifeBites, and this is our media-inspired show. Do I have a special guest for you today? His name is Jonathan Barbato, and he and I have a long track record together playing in the arena of media. He usually on the marketing and distribution side, myself on the content side, and we played together and talked a lot about media over the years. Yeah. And both of us are actually committed to making a positive impact in the world of stories, particularly when we're talking about a mass audience. And how can we do that in today's age when there's so much fragmentation? Just to give you a little history on who he is, he was the head of marketing for the Starz movie channel, and he was also in charge of MGM-TV. He is now the co-CEO of the Best Ever Channels. Yes, did I get that right, Jonathan? I hope I got that right.
You did.
Yes, and there is 9 different channels, and they're reaching 50 million people. So this man has a lot of nuggets to share with us today. So welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Nina. Yes.
Well, it's great to have you here, and we have a lot to talk about because over the years, you and I kind of started to play together right after the internet and digital really became part of kind of the framework of how we were going to deliver content. So tell us how it's changed over the years, because I think that's a really interesting, people don't really realize in the last 20 years, life has changed as we've known it.
Oh, tremendously. I mean, some things are different, some things are the same. So, 20 years ago, cable and satellite were the big deal. And in fact, maybe even newly so, and on demand was just beginning to happen, which I did the research at Starz when that was happening, and I was telling people in 2002, the home video, so Blockbuster's going away, and they all thought I was crazy. But we did the research. I mean, why would you go to Blockbuster when you can do it all on your TV set? It just took a matter of time for us to figure that out. And it's really, that's it, is it's technology is already there. It's already actually ahead of where we are. It's just a matter of adapting to the technology. And so what's happening now, what Nielsen already acknowledged, is that cable and satellite, not the first way that people are getting TV anymore. It's streaming media. And I'm not just talking about Netflix or Disney Plus or the things that you pay for. I'm talking about no matter who you buy your TV from today. It's a smart TV. It's like smartphones when they were, every phone became a smartphone. Every TV is a smart TV, whether it's LG or Samsung or Vizio. I mean, Samsung has Samsung Plus, Vizio has Vizio Plus TV. You get 150, 200 free channels when you turn the TV set on. They're just picked up right off the internet. And they're there, and people are finding them, not even really realizing, oh yeah, I never hooked up cable. I don't have a set-top box anymore. They're just coming through my TV set. And so I'm in the business of staying with how you get television to a TV audience. And those are called FAST channels. FAST,
actually. FAST channels. Okay, I see.
Yeah, FAST is an acronym. It stands for Free Ad-Supported TV in the industry. But basically what it is it's same as cable in the 80s. It's 100 or 200 or sometimes 300 linear channels, meaning channel 1 is playing one thing, channel 2 is playing another, 8 o'clock is one thing, 9 o'clock's another. So they're linear channels. They're not on demand content like Netflix or Paramount or all the others.
Some of the ones that you pay for. So I've got a question for you. Let's back up the truck just a little bit, because back in the day when there wasn't as many channels,
right.
One of the challenges that both you and I had was bringing positive stories to light, to the mass, kind of consumption.
Yep.
And I think that's still not an easy model to do, because we're trained in media for fight, fight or flight kind of responses, fear, drama, train wrecks, etc. How do you do that given where it was maybe 15, 20 years ago, but even today we're having that kind of challenge to some degree? You might have the distribution, but you have the eyeballs.
Yeah, I mean, look at sex and drama sells, that's what the gatekeepers always said. And it's true to an extent. I think what's shifting is that the gatekeepers are shifting as well. For one thing, in streaming media, it's no longer, Comcast or Time Warner or NBC that's deciding what gets on the air. It's independent companies like Best Ever Channels or Cinedigm or others that are out there. And so we're bringing a wider breadth of content to, maybe not a general audience all the time, maybe a specific audience here and another specific audience there, but there's enough channels for that. And I, topics like health, wealth, and wisdom are trending far more than 20 years ago, 40 years ago when our parents were watching TV.
Did you remember Lime? Do you remember Lime? Do you
Yeah,
remember that? Yeah, I was
yeah.
on Lime there for a while, and then it was on Sirius Satellite Radio, and they tried to make a go of it, and they couldn't do it, right?
Current TV was
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
Gaia's still out there, but they have a different approach and it's subscription. What I want to do is I want to bring free TV. Like I want you to be scanning through the channels, and there's Jerry Springer with his, negativity and people punching each other, and then look, there's more of you with Jack Canfield talking about how to double your income and change your life in a positive way. So I just want to give people choice. And I was going to say on TikTok last year, that one of the top trending topics was the 369, which is Tesla's law of attraction. 3 times in the morning, 6 in the afternoon, 9 at night. You had like 12-year-olds picking up their phones saying, "Oh, yeah, I got that skateboard I've always wanted." And the law of attraction is about far more than that. But yeah, I think the time is now.
I think you're right, because people are more in tune to it. I remember back in the day when I was pitching, LifeBites was up for a syndicated television show back in the day, and this was way back before Oprah was not even Oprah yet. She was just starting. And I remember a network said to
Yeah,
me,
you and I were only 2 years old.
yeah, exactly. And so I remember this network executive saying to me, because I said, "Hey, we're going to help people explore and discover themselves," right? And he's like, "You're going to do what?" And he goes, "And you're not going to tell them the answer?" He goes, "That is just ludicrous." And now I think about it, everybody has a question, everybody's exploring, because the time is now. I think it's much ripe, particularly coming out of a pandemic, all the craziness that's happening in the world right now, right? That I think that's contributing. People are looking for answers. Mental
Absolutely.
health, both for men and women and children, is much more in part of everyday life than maybe even our parents that were like, "What? You're going to go to a psychiatrist? You're going to go to a therapy? What? You're going to go to a sound bath healing?" That was just stuff that nobody did back in the day.
Yeah.
So this brings me to an interesting topic here, because there's a lot of beautiful, wonderful personal growth experts out there.
Yeah,
Tony
sure.
Robbins tried to do the NBC television show, and look, he's probably as big as you get in terms of personal, development. Jack Canfield, another one, but Tony actually had an NBC show and it was canceled. So
Right.
how do we get the message out there, make it a positive experience, but also give some impact so our brains can actually start getting trained to look for the good, not for the bad or the drama or the train wreck?
Well, I think there's two layers to the answer to that question. And the layers are that there's the content itself, the message that you're talking about, but there's also the delivery of the message. And I think one of the places where thought leaders have fallen short, Tony Robbins notwithstanding, is that television is storytelling is entertaining. It has to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And even if the message is really good, we're a species that likes to see it told to us in a entertaining way. And so, I think the Tony Robbins show had some great messages in it, but it was all talking heads. And
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of thought leaders today, even what we're doing now is, it's on that verge because it's talking heads. It's when you can cut to a clip of this or tell a story in a more interesting way. And so Ray Higdon, who or Grant Cardone, who are also big. They're not Tony Robbins big, but they're close. They're Dean Graziola big. They're they're
Mm-hmm.
they're there. What they've done is something different. They've created shows that have a reality format to them, and they've gotten reality programming, production crews. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got people that produced for A&E and History Channel now producing a show for Grant Cardone around, what are you going to do to improve your life? And the prizes are, either millions of dollars or a job with him or coaching. And so it's a much more positive outcome, but it's still in this sort of gamified, entertaining
Yeah.
environment. And that's what I think we need to do is just let's bring entertainment into the messaging because people want to be engaged.
So I think it's really exciting. This is an exciting time, and you have 9 different channels right now that you're distributing. So tell us a little bit about those channels, because what I also want to get across to people is that you don't have to wait for a big network to get distributed, particularly if you know how to film, you know how to create
Right.
fun and entertaining content, because it can't be just like we're doing right here, the talking head. I mean, it can, but there's a lot of
Yeah,
podcasts.
no, there's
Podcasts are
sometimes that's
huge.
appropriate.
But
Yeah.
we're talking for television and distribution channels, really, to be able to get that message across. So tell us a little bit about your channels, and then tell us a little bit about how somebody would create a show and what even you would be looking for potentially.
Sure. Yeah. So everything that I do is a commitment to leaving a positive impact. I'm not going to produce Jerry Springer. But not all 9 of my channels are as directly focused on the what I call the health, wealth, and wisdom category. Some people call it personal transformation. That sort of how do I get from here to there content. I have 3 of those channels. Those 3 are More You, which is a channel I've created from scratch, which has everyone we're talking about: Jack Canfield, Brandon Burchard, Les Brown, Lisa Nichol, on and on, talking about everything about health, wealth, and wisdom. I've got yoga. I've got content that has to do with the body, the mind, and the spirit. And the Ray Higdon show I talked about is on that channel, for example. Then I have another channel that I've done in conjunction with Wanderlust, the famous yoga and festival group. They've created a channel called Commune, and really it's a offshoot of their master classes. They have a subscription masterclass program called One Commune that is amazing. It's, I would say best of class that's out there. And we've taken some of those workshops and those master classes and we've put them into a channel all their own called Commune. So I've got that channel as well. Then we have a third channel called Cinema Libre, which is Cinema Libre is one of the largest producers of cause-based, sort of theme-driven content that's documentaries and movies. I like them because they leave me feeling like there's hope and something positive to be derived. I get depressed when I watch a documentary and feel like I've got 5 years left in this world. They're not that, but they are honest and they are covering some of the topics that I think are really important for people to know about these days. So those are the 3: More You, Commune, and Cinema Libre.
Okay.
And then we are launching a Spin music channel. Spin has been around for 40 years,
Yeah.
an iconic
I
music
remember
channel.
Spin. Yeah.
Yeah,
Back
yeah,
in
yeah.
the
Still
MTV.
around
Yeah.
online. Yeah, still interviewing, top music talent. And we are putting a channel for them up on actually I can't announce where yet, but one of the major biggest, just think biggest, not just TV, but I don't know, maybe they have merchandise and
Wow.
something Prime. I don't know, but
Oh, we're
anyway,
talking. Well, yes,
we're gonna be launching with
yes,
them.
something is something out there. Yes,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
announced yet,
yeah.
but they're gonna be launching in March.
Okay.
The Spin Music Channel. We have a comedy channel with the Stand in New York, which is the largest comedy venue in New York. Also, really top comedians and original content, because that's what's happening in this streaming media universe right now. Is it started with sort of the content that you didn't see that much of because nobody really could get the
Like the
AVs or the
aggregated
histories.
content that you would just repurpose in a different format.
Right.
Yeah.
That's shifting. Now it's all the channels and ones that you may not know yet, like Spin and Wits, but with original content and with something that differentiates it as a channel versus just a lot of content strung together. I mean, we do have that too. We have two classic TV and movie channels: Best Westerns Ever, Best TV Ever. We've got The Grid, which is a really an inclusive African American skewing, like BET, only more focused on sort of music video and
Okay.
original content created
Oh,
by its creator, its founder.
like a new MTV, remember the box. I used to work for the box before it became
Well,
MTV.
Spin is sort of like the box,
Yeah.
the new MTV. The Grid has an element of that, but it's also Carl Jackson, the creator or partner in it, is also creating original series and things like that as well, and just sort of giving an inclusive perspective of things. We have another channel that's doing really well called Trailers from Hell. I mean, I'm going to go on and on. So just stop me.
Now let me ask you, okay, so let's, they can certainly, where are you said 50 million people. So these are more like niche channels, but where are they actually playing? How do people access these types of channels?
Yeah, great question. So they're playing in streaming media on any device in various places. So it's a little confusing because it's in various places. On the other hand, it's easier to find because it's in
In
various
various
places.
places.
Yeah, right. So whether you have a Samsung Vizio, LG TV, whether you're on Roku, whether you are watching Plex or Pluto or Tubi, that's where we are. We're in all
Wow.
those places. Not every channel is everywhere, but they're all everywhere from that perspective. I mean, if you want to find them most easily, there's a channel called Plex, which is actually a collection of channels, of which all 9 of ours are in one place on Plex. You would go to the live TV section and watch the live TV. We do have some video on demand, AVOD, sort of think Netflix channel content as well, but I can send you links that you can find that everywhere in different places. And then we also have 2 subscription channels on Amazon for classic TV and Westerns.
So here's the thing. There's a lot of I think back when I was in college. It was back in the day when movie equipment, TV equipment, you had to, if you wanted to do a television show, you had to get 2 cameras. And I mean, you're talking 5-10 grand just for the equipment, right? If you wanted to do it
Right.
right with the lighting and everything
A
else.
lot more than that, actually.
Yeah, yeah, probably even more. But I'm talking about when I was in school, right? Like cinema
Right.
film school, right? You had to buy all this equipment. Now there's so much that you can do. Look at what we're doing here. I mean, I'm in the comfort of my home, you're in the comfort of your home or your office, etc. And here's the interesting thing is then you just need an editor and you can distribute it depending and make sure it's compelling content. You got the lighting and everything, but there's a lot of talented people out there that actually have the ability to create great content. They just don't have the distribution. So what would you
Right.
say to somebody wanting to, they have a show idea? What would you tell them as advice to get started, to be able to
Yeah.
start a show?
So there's the creation of the show. There's the stringing together of many shows into a channel. And then there's the delivering of those strung together channel into, the devices we're talking about. And each one of those is a business unto itself.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to be doing all 3 of them. Even Best Ever Channels at this point doesn't do a whole lot of production. We're taking production in. So my best advice to somebody with a show or that they're producing is to find a company like a Best Ever Channels or Cinedigm, who is in the business of taking shows and aggregating them into channels and then placing those channels. Distribution for these channels was a lot easier, say 2 years ago than it is today. As technology continues to advance, the market gets tighter and tighter. Uh, if you're into virtual reality or augmented reality, then I would say your day will come very soon because that's probably the next phase. And anything in that arena will be acceptable until it starts honing in on what people are
So give
truly
us an
watching.
example of what that might look like or feel like in the augmented reality. Is that kind of like the virtual reality, where you go into like a metaverse? Are you talking about?
Well, there's lots of things. There's the metaverse, yes.
Mhm.
There's AI is, I don't know if you've been on Chat GPT. I mean, it's phenomenal what's happening in AI right now. So those kinds of things where you're using technology in a broader way than just a one-way communication, even what we're doing. So and others are beginning to think this way as well. We're going to have a companion app within 6 months that's going to allow you to not only watch Jack Canfield on World's Greatest Motivators, but live chat with him during the show because he'll be able
So
to do
there's
that
more
through
of an
this companion.
interactive, and then potentially buy merchandise. How about buying courses and stuff as well?
Yeah, but we're looking at it, yes, but in a holistic way. So, that was really interesting what Jack said about the law of attraction. Jack, can you chat with me about that? Oh, you have a course coming up? But then I'm
Yeah.
interested in that. Or Nina chimes in because we'll have a way to do that as well. And Nina says, "Oh yeah, no, you should check out Mary Morrissey. She's also into the law of attraction." And on the app, they're both are. And in fact, there's ways to interact. And if you want a affirmation every day or a life bite, that'll be there. Podcasts will be there. So
I'm talking about.
it's taking an experience and integrating it. And I remember watching Gaia, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, thinking it was Dr. Joe Dispenza or somebody. I was just I want to know more, and there was no way to do it, right? Because
Yeah,
TV
yeah.
traditionally doesn't let you do that. So that's what's going to happen is
It's going to
and
be a
it'll
little
take
bit, yeah.
time for people to get used to it. But you can talk to a remote now. You don't even need a keyboard if you're on your TV.
So
I
how
mean,
do
things are
people, let me
changing.
ask you a question. How do people, if you're not a Jack Canfield and you're not a big movie maker and you're just starting out and you think you have compelling content, how do you actually make money doing this in this stream of channels and stuff? How does it work?
So there's two models for that. One of them is sort of the Netflix model that people hear about, right? Oh, I had this great idea for a show. I wrote a treatment and a Bible, if you know what that is, which basically explains what the show is going to be. And I got a meeting with Netflix and I went in and I talked to them and they decided to pay me with lots of money to air it. That model is a little broken right now. Um, there's a saturation of content. So Netflix has pulled back because of economics and things like that. And even the Amazons and the Paramounts and the everyone else that play that way, it's hard. So, and you have to have an agent because if they're going to want you to produce, they want to know that you're going to be with somebody that knows what they're doing.
And you have to have a production company that's probably worked with them so they feel comfortable with that production company as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's actually a whole business of production companies that have worked with them, taking on other production companies under their wing in order to get up and running. And that model has other broken pieces to it because typically if they're going to be doing all that, they want to buy out, I mean, they'll pay you to produce it, but they want to own it either forever or for a period of time. And that can be great for some, and some
Mhm.
people don't want that to happen. So that's the sort of one model. And then the other model is um, coming to or being sought out by people like us or others that are aggregating content together. The economics of streaming media, these channels I'm talking about, these fast channels, doesn't really allow for Game of Thrones type of budgets
Yeah,
at
yeah,
this
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Um, it's, when I say we're doing comedy originals, those are for more economical to produce, but the comedy is what's good in
Yeah.
this health, wealth, and wisdom category, as long as it's interesting, like I described earlier, or, a game show format, or a reality format, but the content's good.
Mhm.
Um, you know, that's ways to get it done. So yeah, I mean, I could go on
Yeah.
forever. I should probably do a
No,
masterclass on this.
so I think, the key here is a lot of times I think people also use it as launching pads as well. So it may
Yeah,
not be a huge moneymaker initially, but you're getting your name out there, your brand out there, and you're being able to actually show, whether it be a Netflix or an agent or anybody else, look at me, I'm influencing,
right.
the marketplace with your content, and particularly if you don't have to spend a lot to either edit it or get it produced on some level,
Like social media, YouTube, anything. There will be money for those that attract a huge audience, and advertising is one of the main ways that money comes in. But the exposure is what, I mean, you want to get it out far and wide. You want to get your face in front of as many people as possible if you have something to say.
So there's also a term that we use, and some people know it and some people don't. Usually you have to be in the industry to know it. What do you mean when somebody says, is it evergreen?
Yeah, so evergreen means that I will have just as much, or at least almost as much interest in watching it next year, 5 years, 10 years from now as I do today. So topical is the opposite of evergreen. And I'll give you two examples. The Lucy Show is one of our classic TV shows, evergreen. Why?
Evergreen.
People still love watching Lucy. It's not because of the production value. I mean, it's laughable, the production value. It's because it's human interaction. Humans haven't really changed that much. The themes are classic themes. It's just as interesting to watch Lucy and Ricky go at it now as it was, you know, 40 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's evergreen. And that can be true of transformational content as well.
Yeah.
Law of attraction, for example, there are ways to get yourself into a raised vibration. Going to be true 5 years from now, same as it is today, versus topical content, which would be more, it just snowed in Santa Barbara. Go
Yeah,
figure. Um,
exactly.
Amazingly interesting, and it was the first thing I talked to you about today. But not
It
going to be
won't be
that
relevant
interesting.
in 2 years from now when it's really sunny and it's the middle of the summer and somebody's listening to it going, well, wait a minute, it's July. How's there snow there? I did it when I first started my first podcast around Marilyn Monroe. It was a live show. And so everything was very time bound. And so when I had to go re-edit the shows, I had to extract the main interview, which was evergreen, but the show itself couldn't just repurpose. So I think people really do need to, when they're thinking about creating content, you want to create content that's evergreen, that'll always be there, especially if you're just starting out and you realize, hey, maybe today you might not get it sold, but 5 years from now you might, you just don't know,
Right,
right? So I
right.
think that's really, really important. Where do you see the industry? We're now streaming right now. You talked about AI, you talked about, having a more interactive type of experience. It's not just sitting there, watching a TV or a streaming device saying, entertain me. Where do you see it 10 years from now? If I was going to use a time bound insert, it would be in the year 3033. Okay. So this is
Yeah.
10 years from now, but that would be not evergreen, right? But let's just say 10 years from now, where do you see it?
Well, so I think though there will always be new content and new people who are popular with the content. So that's going to continue. I think what will be interesting is as this library of what's available continues to grow massively, but also the technology is growing massively. I mean, right now, uh, how many times have you sat down to watch something and you're like, I don't know what to watch. Where do I go? Or I do know what to watch, but where do I go? Or wait a minute, it's available here and there, which is the better.
Yeah.
It's the curation, it's the information sorting that I think we've all have become, more and more and more in need of, and that's only going to increase. And so there are technologies right now that are kind of leaning in that direction. How how can we make your experience more personal to you, but also, we're all now used to Googling, right? I mean, not to age myself again, I remember when Google didn't exist, right? And you had to look it
Oh, I
up.
didn't know when I can't remember back that far. No kidding. So,
Yeah, no, I didn't actually remember someone told me that, but yeah, so as we search is about to take a leap, a giant leap forward. I don't know if you know that. I mean, with AI, it's going to be a massive leap. You can just look in the news, topical news, right? It's on the
yeah.
Microsoft and what's happening there with Bing. But anyway, so people are getting more and more accustomed to being able to have what they want when they want it like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to happen with media as well, all
Well,
media.
and you think about it. I mean, there's times that for whatever reason you can't fast forward through a show. Let's say if you're watching on TV, remember back in the day when, what was it, Sex in the City or Ally McBeal? Those are some female shows back in the day.
Right.
You had to watch it on Sunday night or Tuesday night, and you had to tune in because if you missed it, there was no replay, there was no on demand. I mean, I think times
Right.
have really changed. So, from that perspective of on demand when you want it, how do you feel about the social media changes that we're starting to hear? Facebook potentially going ahead and charging for to be on Facebook. Do you think that's going to be a model that's going to work?
Well, what is the expression? If you're not paying for it, then you are the product. So it might not be a bad thing if you can not be the product by paying for it. And that's all personal choice. I think as technology continues to expand, so is social media continuing to expand. Ultimately, we are social creatures. We didn't become social creatures because Facebook started. I used to try to explain Facebook and Twitter and Instagram to people, and I would use, real life examples. Well, when you go to a coffee shop and you catch up with a friend, that's Facebook. But when you're going through your photo album, that's Instagram. And when you're telling a really, anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
only
Quick text. That would be Twitter. You know what I mean?
right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Oh yeah, there's something that just happened. It just snowed in Santa Barbara. That's tweet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think as technology continues evolving and social media will continue evolving, it's kind of all the same, but in a completely different way. So when I say a personalized experience with media, it's not just, oh, now I want to watch Ally McBeal. I remember that show on demand. It's no, what I really liked about the show was what's her name? Callista
Flockhart, who's with
Lockhart
yeah, Harrison Ford.
and Harrison Ford. And what I also really like is that it's a female empowerment show, and you'll be able to go, oh, here are 20 other female empowering shows,
Yeah,
or Callista Lockhart shows, or that sort of thing.
yeah.
And then it just that sort of going down the rabbit hole is getting easier and easier and more personal, and that's going to happen in media. It's happening.
There's just so much. I think sometimes that's really even hard too. There's so many channels. It's hard to find exactly what you're looking for because it's not like the three big channels from back in the day, even before cable. Back when Lucy was being aired, what did you have? The three channels: CBS, NBC, and ABC. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of other channels. So this show is about being media inspired. So you've inspired us with all the different changes and what you're doing. How do you get inspired, and how do you see yourself inspiring more and more people as you grow with these channels?
Well, what I've discovered uh, as I've progressed in my career is that if I'm not fired up about it, I'm not going to have fun doing it. Probably not going to do as good a job about it, and the product isn't going to be anything that anybody really wants to see because they're going to that energy gets transferred. And so, for me, what inspires me is storytelling in a way that no matter who you are, you can relate to it, even though the story may be about Himalayan, or Tibetan monk. Oh, but yeah, no, I grew up going through something very similar, or whatever. So I think storytelling is always the key for me. That's what inspires me.
Mhm.
And if I can bring a really exciting story to somebody and feel like they have the opportunity to make their life better because they're inspired by it, then I'm inspired to deliver it. And I 10 years ago, even I didn't think that what I'm doing now was possible. I was just beginning to try. I guess I believed it was possible, but it wasn't here yet,
Yeah.
and here it is. So I think believing in something passionately and committing to it and then letting go of the result is my secret.
Mhm. Your
Seems to
secret
work pretty good.
sauce. There you go. You
Yeah.
know, both you and I are fans of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I love this quote. I use it a lot. Is the best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's
Yeah.
what you've been doing, and you've always been a trendsetter, back in the day when you and I first met, we were always on that. It's so funny. I'm not a technology person, but I always seem to be on the forefront of technology. And you and I would kind of come around and we'd say hello. And then there wasn't quite a time for us to get together. Now that the time is right, here we are, in this, impact, making a positive impact for people,
Yeah.
which I think is really important. And I think the world really needs it right now. So I just want to say thank you, because I think giving people more awareness of what's out there and what's to come and how they may be able to create their own shows and content, I think is really important as we get more and more niche in these different channels and exposure. So thank you, Jonathan, for coming to the show
It's
today.
truly my pleasure. Yeah.
All right, Jonathan Barbato, the co-CEO of the Best Ever channels, 9 different channels reaching 50 million people. He's making a positive impact in the world. And guess what? I hope that inspires you too to make a positive impact in the world. Media Inspired. I'm Nina Bosky, and this is Life Bites. And remember to take a bite out of life before life takes a bite out of you.